Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into some truly profound source material. It's a fictional lost manuscript known simply as SILT. And this is going to be a deep dive into the architecture of complex trauma CPTSD and the radical defense mechanism of dissociation.
Our mission today is to follow the narrative arc of the protagonist, Margaret Frost, and really extract the real-world, actionable knowledge about healing. We're tracking that process of moving from total psychological fragmentation to what the sources call hard-won integration.
And Margaret, she's a 37-year-old copy editor living in a state where her reality is, well, it's perpetually negotiable.
Yes, and we're analyzing the very specific language her psyche uses just to survive what was overwhelming abuse.
The tension here is it's immediately arresting. When the self is faced with an event that is literally unsurvivable, the mind, it breaks itself apart. It has to. It's a defense. So the question for us is really twofold. How is that initial fragmentation structured? And maybe more importantly, what is the agonizing day-by-day effort required to find a path back?
A path back toward a singular, cohesive self. It's a total immersion into dissociation, which is really the mind's ultimate circuit breaker. We're mapping Margaret's internal landscape, where the boundary between her inner world and the outer world has become completely permeable. The manuscript calls it a mutual seepage.
A mutual seepage?
When you can't contain the pain, you just can't contain anything.
Okay, so let's unpack this architecture of dissolution. When we first meet Margaret, she's defined by these overwhelming symptoms: unreality, confusion. She literally cannot trust basic facts, including her own name. Is it Margaret? Is it someone else? She questions the city, the man beside her, Simon. It's what the sources identify as the problem of the referent.
Exactly. The referent is the thing a word points to in reality. So if the word chair doesn't consistently point to a stable chair, the world just falls apart. For Margaret, the word woman has been stripped of its connection to a stable identity.
And she tries to do that basic grounding exercise, right? Making a list.
She does. She tries to make a list of specifics: her age, her address, the color of her shirt. But the list, it just dissolves in her hands as she's writing it. It's an immediate, very physical example of how CPTSD can just obliterate your foundational reality.
And the space she's in isn't just confusing, it's defined by liminality, that feeling of being on a border, on a threshold. She's always half here. How does the manuscript use her location, her flat, to show that state?
The location is so key. Her physical flat, her home, it isn't stable. The text describes it as multiplying into all the flats she has ever known. Clapham, Brighton, Soho, they're all just overlapping like transparent slides. The past and the present are superimposed.
So she's always on the threshold of her life.
Perpetually. She can't commit to being fully in the present moment because the past is just always there, always crowding in.
It's such a powerful way to visualize that feeling of being dislocated. Clinically, what we're looking at here are two very specific things, aren't we?
Absolutely. We're seeing depersonalization and derealization. Depersonalization is that detachment from the self. Margaret looks at her own hand and sees her fingers as, and I'm quoting here, 5 pale fish.
Wow.
It's profound alienation from her own body. And then you have derealization, where the external world feels unreal, like a badly made movie set.
And so she's constantly searching for what the text calls a cold fact.
The cold fact. Yes. Something concrete, the sensation of her bare feet on cold linoleum, anything to just confirm that she actually exists in that space.
It makes perfect sense. When the pain is too sharp, the mind just throws up a blur. But while it's a survival strategy, like you said, it's a living death.
Precisely. It's saving her life by keeping her from fully living it. And that blur, it continues right up until an external trigger just punctures that protective fog.
Right. And what finally kicks off this deep dive back toward reality is a piece of mail. An unexpected letter. It's an old black and white photograph of her mother, and her father on a beach. And on the back, there's just one word scrawled in pencil: before.
And this introduces a fascinating concept from the sources: Schrodinger's correspondence.
Okay, like the cat.
Exactly. Before you look, the particle is in all states at once. As long as that envelope was sealed, it held all the possible versions of her past. But once she opened it,
it collapsed.
It collapsed into one singular, undeniable, and traumatic fact: the before of her rupture.
And the moment that before is exposed, she immediately feels this overwhelming pull toward the sea. She drives straight to the coast, to the littoral zone.
That fluctuating, unstable boundary, it's the perfect external mirror for her internal state, for that liminality.
And her first instinct is just the old pattern: destruction.
Yes. She tears the photograph into tiny pieces, literal silt. She scatters them into the water. She's trying to dissolve the painful before forever.
But that attempt at destruction is actually the engine of her entrapment.
It is. Because Simon, the man with her, he confirms the cycle. He says, you always come here when it gets bad.
Her life has become a loop, an eternal return.
She keeps going back to the source of the injury, hoping, that the next time she tries to dissolve it, it'll finally work.
And that cycle only persists because the original trauma was never actually integrated.
It's a foreign object in her history. And the sources reveal what happened. When Margaret was 7, her drunk father held her under the water at the beach. It was a near drowning.
The psychological weight of that event is compounded by a detail that is just. It's truly chilling. Margaret says she actually died and came back. And she had a near-death experience, and her memory of it wasn't fear. It was peace. She felt that being dragged back to life was a punishment.
A punishment. Because the darkness was quiet. That is the core rupture. That's what fuels her dissociation for 30 years.
The part of her that died in the water.
The part that chose the peaceful darkness. It was never truly brought back. So her life becomes this self-cannibalization, the Ouroboros cycle.
Constantly returning to the sea.
Either to finally join the part of herself that died or eventually to retrieve it.
So the sea becomes the repository of her fractured self. And the truth of this only surfaces fully when she gets evidence from 2 external sources. Her mother and a third person named Julia.
The witness.
Yes, the witness.
Julia is essential. The manuscript includes this chilling crayon drawing that Julia sends her. It shows 3 figures in a furiously scribbled Red Sea.
Yeah.
And there's a message with it.
You know what you did?
Chilling. Julia was there. She saw it.
So this is the pivot. The sources then move into the really demanding, grinding work, segment 3, the process of coming back. And it requires radical structure. Margaret commits to residential treatment, a minimum of 12 weeks. Why is this containment so crucial for CPTSD recovery?
Containment provides an external structure when your internal structure has completely failed. She can't trust her own reality, so she needs a safe environment, free from triggers, free from the chaos of her mind, to just focus on one thing.
Presence.
Just being present. The early work is purely foundational. It's all about grounding, moving her away from that multi-flat liminality and back into her own body.
And how do they do that? What are the techniques?
They focus relentlessly on the 5 senses. It's the exact opposite of the blur. It forces the mind to acknowledge verifiable present tense data. She learns to say things like, fear tastes like copper. That level of specificity, it's a huge victory over that dissolving list from the beginning. It confirms she is here.
And the manuscript highlights the somatic reality of trauma, right? How it's stored in the body. She struggles with what she calls the stuck scream in her throat.
That physical block is why talk therapy isn't enough. She starts art therapy, which is where we see the integration process really begin visually.
But at first she's paralyzed.
Completely. Or she just obsesses over drawing water. It's still the symbolic language of avoidance.
But then comes the breakthrough. She shifts from drawing the water to confronting the fragmentation itself.
Yes, she moves to painting all her fragmented selves. The 7-year-old, the dislocated copy editor, the ghost self, all on one single canvas. She forces them to share the frame.
That is the work of integration, isn't it?
It's the exact work. It's not about merging them into one identity, but recognizing them all as aspects of her total self. And key to validating this is Julia, the witness.
Julia is such a paradox. She's been watching Margaret for decades, which is a deeply uncomfortable fact. But Margaret accepts it. Why? Because Julia is the only person who was there who can look her in the eye and confirm 2 things, that the event was real and that it was wrong.
That external validation is absolutely critical in CPTSD. For years, Margaret's own mind told her she was crazy. Her mother implied it never happened. Julia validates her reality.
And Julia admits she was also abused. She says, we fragment because wholeness hurts too much.
A profound truth. And Julia, this uncomfortable witness, she becomes part of Margaret's necessary chosen family, her aftercare structure.
So this chosen family replaces what her biological family failed to provide.
Right. The biological family denied the reality of the pain. The chosen family, Julia, Simon, they provide unconditional acceptance of the reality of the pain. They confirm the historical fact, which frees her to address the future.
And that prepares her for the final confrontation with her mother.
In a family therapy session, yes. Margaret holds her accountable. You let him hurt me. And her mother finally acknowledges it. She admits Margaret paid the price for her own fear.
That moment isn't about forgiveness, is it?
No, it's not about forgiveness. It's about establishing the truth that was denied for 30 years. Healing, as the sources show us, isn't about erasing the past. It's about establishing the fact that the trauma happened and then choosing a future that is distinct from it.
Which sets up the terrifying final test in segment 4. On the anniversary of her father's death, a massive trauma trigger, Margaret asks Simon to drive her back to Hastings Beach.
She's going back to the littoral zone, but this time she is armed with awareness, with support. She walks into the cold water. Simon is standing there ready to pull her out, and she feels that familiar pull, towards dissolution, towards the peaceful darkness.
But she doesn't succumb. She turns back. And the sources are very clear this is a deliberate choice. Her exact words are, "I chose to come back."
That's the definitive moment. That is the ultimate rejection of the Ouroboros cycle. She realizes she'd been stuck in that liminal state, half dead, half alive, for 3 decades.
And now she makes the conscious, active decision to be fully here, even though she knows what that costs.
And the cost is massive. She says, alive means feeling everything, the pain and the joy equally. No more protective blur.
So she reaches a state of coherence, but what does that really mean? It's not a return to some pre-trauma state, is it?
Absolutely not. Coherence is integrating her multiple selves, the victim, the editor, the healer, into a sustainable identity. Her history now has a continuous, understandable narrative. She's synthesizing the shattered syntax of her past.
And her work, fixing other people's fractured sentences, it takes on this huge symbolic meaning. Her final journal entry just confirms it all.
That final line encapsulates everything, the hard-won selfhood. I am not my trauma, I am not broken, I am hurt, I am healing, I am here, I am enough.
That journey, from a dissolving list of facts to that solidifying declarative self, it's just so profound. It confirms for us, the learners, that healing isn't about being fixed. It's not about erasing the fragments.
It's about learning to live with them, to coordinate and incorporate them.
And if we step back and look at the literary context, the fact that the manuscript's author, Ann Quin, drowned at 37, the same age as Margaret at her turning point, the title SILT becomes even more resonant.
It suggests recovery is not this dramatic, immediate thing. It's a slow, almost invisible process of sedimentation.
Sedimentation as a metaphor for recovery. Tell us more about that.
Well, what is silt? It's the fine residue left behind when violent, chaotic water recedes. It's what settles, particle by particle, over a long, long time. The chaotic energy of the sea, the thing that tried to drown her, is slowly transformed into stable residue. Silt accumulates and eventually becomes the foundation. It becomes the literal, solid ground you can finally stand on.
A stunningly resilient metaphor. The greatest stability comes from the slowest settling.
Indeed. And this idea of settling, it leads us to our final provocative thought from this text. While Margaret achieved coherence, a logical story about herself, the manuscript suggests that full emotional transparency might not actually be the key to healing.
Meaning you don't have to understand everything about why it happened.
Exactly. The ability to embrace ambiguity, what the sources call the literary concept of negative capability, the acceptance that some parts of the self, some aspects of life, might remain forever mysterious. That might be the ultimate form of self-preservation.
So can you, the listener, find comfort in that opacity, in knowing that the boundaries you keep, the parts of yourself you choose to leave unresolved, that they're actually a final, necessary form of setting a boundary?
That is the choice Margaret makes, to be enough even when the full truth remains layered, like silt.